Blended Kingdom Teens is all about the real-life struggles of living with divorced parents.
We give you honest conversation and practical tools for living out your identity and purpose as we chase after God together. Hey BKT, what is up? Welcome back to another episode of our podcast. Today we're going to be talking about faith over fear and what that looks like with trusting God with your future despite your family's past and struggles. Yeah. So, give us the verse, Jerzi.
Okay. Jeremiah 29:11. Everyone knows it, and if you don't, you should read it. Here it is. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans for welfare and not for evil, to give you a future and a hope.
So good.
So good.
Many background to this verse. It's going to be so short. What I think that so many people forget about this verse is that basically the prophet Jeremiah is talking to these people and the Lord's speaking through him, saying this, but these people have been oppressed for years. So these people have been in this very hard situation. For as long as they remember, generations have probably grown up in it. And he's telling them, I have a plan for you, but it's just not yet. And I think that that applies very well to what we're talking about today and how God says, I have a plan for you, but you're sitting in the struggles and you're dealing with the family situations. And yes, your parents are divorced. And yes, everything's changing. Your life is going a million miles an hour, and yet it feels so slow at the exact same time. He's like, but I have a plan for you. I have plans to prosper you and give you a hope and a future. And I think that that's really, I think the context of that verse just goes so well with what we're talking about today. And so, Jerzi, I want to ask you the question of, when was a moment that you felt that everything that you've been through with your parents' divorce and getting remarried, when was a point where you felt like that defined you and it defined who you would be one day?
I mean, I think just growing up, as soon as my parents got divorced and my parents sent us to this church ministry thing called Divorce Care. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, this is so dumb. Like, it's just a bunch of us kids whose parents just got divorced. And right after my parents got divorced, like, everything was about the divorce, you know? Mm-hmm. Whose house were we at? Whose place were we going to? And it's really confusing because I was, like, the only person in the friend group who had divorced parents. And it was so easy. Like, when they were talking about family stuff, my brain was instantly like, you know, divorce. Like, and I would say something about, I just got to my mom's house, and so she's not going to let me come over. So, like, everything's defined by divorce. But, like, I didn't really let it define me. Like, for the longest time, I didn't really, like, date or do anything, like, a lot of that, like, when I was younger. And so I never, like, thought about, like, my future and, like, what divorce might do about that. I just, I'll do, 2 holidays, 2 whatever, like, all the time. But I think that the first time I ever felt, like, thankful for that definition of the fact that I am a blended child was whenever I got the opportunity to come on to this ministry to meet you freshman year at college. I mean, the first time I met my stepsisters, it was right after their parents had gotten divorced and I was working in the kids ministry at my church, and they came to me for prayer. And, like, I wouldn't have been able to speak into them in that moment if I hadn't had the defining moment of my parents getting divorced. And so I think it's really easy to let it define you in a negative way, but like we've talked in past episodes, like, attitude and perspective matters. And I think that flipping that through God's lens is ultimately, it's the best outcome, and it's the outcome that glorifies him over glorifying the brokenness of this world and just reality.
Literally going right off of that, like, your past and the things that happened to you and the things that you didn't ask for, those don't define you, and they don't make you who you will be. Yes, they make you who you currently are, because that is your testimony, there's your story, those are things that God knew that you had to go through because he's building your character for something and the future that he does have for you. But those don't define you. You are not only a child of divorce. You are not only somebody's step sibling or only somebody's stepdaughter or son. Like, that's not who you are, but it's part of you. And I think that, we get all these labels, especially growing up. I remember being in high school, like adding all these labels onto myself because I'm like, yeah, I'm this, but I'm also this, and I'm also this. And like, we forget the main label of child of God, because that is who we are. That is the only name that will ever matter. That's the name that we are seen as and defined as by the creator of the universe. And so, like, if you're listening today and you feel like I am a child of divorce, I am a step sibling, or you're speaking negativity over yourself of that you are only these things, I want to tell you that that's not true. That's not who you are. It's part of you, but it is not you. Mm-hmm. You are loved by God. You are seen by God, and you are a child. You are his son or daughter that he cares for so deeply. And he doesn't want you to be defined by these labels. He definitely doesn't want you to think that this thing that happened to you is going to be that's going to be the rest of your life. Just because your parents got divorced does not mean that you will grow up and get married and get divorced as well. That is not what that means. It does not mean that you're always going to have this chaotic life and you're not going to understand what things are, and you're just kind of feeling like you're like in the ocean of your own life and the waves are crashing in on you. That's not what that means. It means that he does have a plan. Mm-hmm. He does have a purpose for your life. He has a plan to prosper you in the midst of the oppression. He has a plan for a future for you that is perfect according to his will, and a hope that he's going to give to you, because he knows that's the thing you're going to grasp onto, is the hope that he gives, and only he provides for you.
Yeah.
And so I think that it is so, so important to not let these labels and not let the things that we have experienced define what we will experience, because they don't. Mm-hmm. Because it starts, and I think we talked about this, either a conversation just between you and I, or maybe it was in a previous podcast, but like, your future is not defined by the past you, because there is a current you who can change the narrative. And you can decide, this is no longer who I am. I am no longer going to be somebody who is bound by these labels and by these chains and this bondage that I've found myself in based on what I have experienced in my life. But instead, I'm going to choose to believe that God has a better plan for my life, to believe that, yes, this happened to me and I'm going to use it. God takes what the enemy planned for evil and turns it into good. That's what he has for us too, and we can choose that. I think that there's power in that. And I think that that shows the love and the mightiness and the vastness of God when one of his children says, you know what, everything in my life should go downhill based on what I've experienced, but instead I'm going up because I know who's there. We find ourselves caught in these almost like a void of down spiraling about who we are. Identity is a huge thing as a teenager. And we can't let a label that has been put on us by the things of this world define who we are in God's kingdom, because it's not true. Because it's a worldly thing and not a heavenly thing.
Yeah, that's good.
That's my rant.
Wow.
That was a lot.
I needed to hear that.
Yeah.
That was really
glad.
good.
I'm glad.
And that's so true. And we know that's such a real place to be in.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like, oh, we were there at one point. No, we're living in that right now. Like, the worldly labels and the freedom that the Lord gives through that, for what he did for you on the cross, and as a daily sacrifice. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
That's so good. Hey, and we're so glad that you listened to this episode.
I don't know, that I was not planning. I didn't plan that. That's the Lord.
God is good. And maybe you needed to hear that just like I just needed to hear that.
Yeah.
And so pray about it. Yeah. Figure out what labels are you holding on to that the Lord didn't put there. And so, pray through that. Hey, we cannot wait to see y'all in the next episode.
Yeah, that's great.
Thank you so much for coming in. And we have TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, all the things.
Reach out to us. We literally want to be with you in this. And I know that this is not an easy thing to overcome. Trust, it's not. And so we want to be with you in that, because community matters, especially in this, and finding who you are and who you are in Christ. The people around you matter. So also go listen to that last episode when we talked about that.
Definitely.
So, but
as always,
stay strong and courageous. Bye.